Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, everyone together.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse 43. And the chapter is entitled, The Pandavas Retire Timely. We're very happy to have His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu with us. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakrapati Kripasindavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. And it's all yours.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
I don't think the other devotees know that it might be okay if they want to unmute themselves.
Yes.
if they like. So it's actually a kirtan back and forth, yeah. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari.
Gopi Janava Giri Varadhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari.
Gopi Janava Giri Varadhari.
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Vishnugada Braja Jana
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Vishnugada Braja Jana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari.
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Vishudanandana Vrajajana
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Vishudanandana Vrajajana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Pramaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari
All
Bol.
glories.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter, 43rd verse. Chiravasa niraharo badhavan mukta murdhaja darshayan atmano rupam jadonmatta pishachavat anaveksham mano niragad ashvinvan badhiro yata. Chiravasa niraharo badhavan mukta murdhaja darshayan atmano rupam jadonmatta pishachavat anavekshamano niragad ashvinvan badhiro yata. Chiravasa niraharo badhavan mukta murdhaja darshayan atmano rupam jadonmatta pishachavat anavekshamano niragad ashvinvan badhiro yata. Please chant.
Chiravasa nirodhirada haro Padavan Mukta Murdaja Dashayan Atmano Rupam Jadon Mata Pishachavat Anaveksha Manu Viragad Ashimvan Padiro Yata. Hare Krishna.
Chiravasa niraharo badhavan mukta murdacha darshayanatmano rupam jadonmata pishachavat anavekshamano niragad astriyan badhiro yata. Hare Krishna.
Chiravasa niraharo baddhavan muktamurdhajah darshayanatmano rupam jadonmat pishachavat anavekshamano niragad shunvan badhiro yatha. Hare Krishna.
And Nitya didn't like my tune, he changed the tune. Okay, that's all right. Anybody else? No one? Okay. Chiravasa. Chiravasa. Accepted torn clothing. Nirahara. Gave up all solid food stuff. Badhavak. Stop talking. Mukta Murdhaja untied his hair. Darshayan began to show Atmana of himself, Rupam, bodily features, Jada, inert, Unmatta, mad, Pishachavat, just like an urchin, Anavekshamana, without waiting for, Niragat was situated, Ashrinvan, without hearing, Badhira, just like a deaf man, Yata, as if. Some interesting words there in that, those synonyms. Nirahara, you know that word. The ahara means what? Ahara,
Diet.
bhaya, maituna. Yeah, there's those four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahara is the first one. And the six Goswamis, there's the prayer of the six Goswami. Nirahara, vihara, vijito. They conquered eating and sleeping. So even though nirahara, you could take it as being not eating at all, but Srila Prabhupada has translated it, gave up all solid food stuff. So what did Yudhishthira Maharaj then take?
Nothing.
What do you think?
I think he didn't take anything.
No, it says he gave up all solid food stuff. So what about liquid food stuff?
Ah, good point, Prabhu. I didn't think about that.
So then
Water, probably?
water, orange juice. No, often the sages would subsist on milk, right? Milk, yeah. Dahi, milk, doodh, yeah, that. Badhavak. Vak is talking, and badha means, there's an obstacle to talking. Mukta Murdhaja, untied his hair. Dashayan, Atmana. Jada, you know that word, Jada, just like a stone. There's another famous devotee who practiced Jada yoga. You ever heard this before? Jada yoga? Come on. Nitya Gopal Prabhu. No?
No, Prabhuji, I haven't heard Jada Yoga.
Yeah, in the 5th canto,
Jada Bharat is
Maharaj,
there.
what's that?
Jada Bharat is there.
Yeah, he was like that, but in the 5th canto, there's the pastimes of Maharaj Rishabdev.
Correct.
So Rishabdev, he was the king for some good time, pretty much in South India. And before renouncing, he instructed his sons, 100 sons, in Krishna consciousness. And then he left his kingly position and wandered naked, just like a same madman, Jada Yoga. And according to the commentaries, there's the Jains, the Jain religion, about them. They
Yeah.
usually say they follow Mahavir.
Correct.
They call the various Tirthankaras.
Right.
So the Vaishnav commentary is there trying to imitate the activities of Rishabdev because he's one of the Tirthankaras, being Jada Yoga.
Right.
So they have two branches in the Jain religion. They call it Svetambar and Digambar.
Digamba.
Digambar means no clothes, and
No clothes.
Svetambar means white clothes. So anyway, they try to imitate these activities. Of course, this was in a previous age. Rishabdev was. So, but they imitate but don't follow exactly those teachings. And then we have this word pishacha, pichachavat. Have you ever heard that word pishacha before?
Ghost.
Yeah, pishacha. What was Putana?
Pisachini.
She was a pishacha. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so they're very interesting words here. These are being applied to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So just like any word, a word is understood not just by itself, but in its context. For example, Atma, according to context, can mean the mind, the body, the intention, or the soul, according to context. So similarly, Pishachavat, just like an urchin, something like a ghostly urchin, yeah. Anavekshamana, without waiting for, Nirgata was situated Ashrinvan. You know, Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna. We like to hear those who hear about Krishna Katha, they purify their hearts. We purify our hearts by attending to Krishna Katha. So here's Ashrinvan, not hearing anything. So Srila Prabhupada often emphasizes that Ashrinvan, or not hearing, means not hearing anything not related to Krishna. Silence, not talking or not hearing anything, hearing or chanting anything related to Krishna. No, forget that. But hira, just like a deaf man, yata, as if. Translation. Any comments or questions on the word by word? After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in torn clothing, gave up eating all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb, and let his hair hang loose. All this combined to make him look like an urchin or madman with no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything, and just like a deaf man, he heard nothing. Purport. Thus, being freed from all external affairs, he had nothing to do with imperial life or family prestige. And for all practical purposes, he posed himself exactly like an inert, mad urchin and did not speak of material affairs. He had no dependence on his brothers, who had all along been helping him. This stage of complete independence from everything is also called the purified stage of fearlessness. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupagatah Maikyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask for permission and blessings from the devotees all, especially those who are senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness or advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice to hear your voice, Parikshit Prabhu. Sounds
Hare
very
Krishna.
It sounds strong. Your voice sounds strong. That's good.
I'm getting better slowly. Hare Krishna.
So this this incident description of Maharaj Yudhishthira is taking place after the Pandavas are informed by Arjuna about the departure of Lord Krishna from the earthly planet, as well as all the members of practically all the members of the Yadu dynasty, except a few. So this was sometime maybe 35, 40 years after the Battle of Kurukshetra. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj is leaving. We can do a little bit of a contrast here, because just not so long before this, Vidura, you remember, Vidura came from pilgrimage after being away from Hastinapur for a long time and returned. And then he spoke to all the Pandavas, including all the Kauravas and Pandavas, including Dhritarashtra. And he told Dhritarashtra, you got to go immediately. Get out of here. Remember that? Remember that? Eternal time is coming. Yeah. You're living at the expense of, you're living like a household dog. It's very strong language, right? And this is a younger brother to an older brother. You're living just like a household dog in the house of Bhima, who killed all your 100 sons. You've been blind since your birth. You're coughing up mucus. All these things. His body was being deteriorating. So then Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to leave immediately without letting his relatives know. Now, why is that?
Because probably Yudhishthira would not have allowed him to go. He would have said, stay and I'll take care of you.
Yeah, something. It's likely. There's no commentary, but it's likely that way. You can tell from the reaction of Yudhishthira Maharaj later that he was very disturbed. So it would not have been surprising if Dhritarashtra had informed his nephews of his plans to leave and go to the north to execute austerities and mystic yoga, that he would have perhaps have been dissuaded. And in this case, did Maharaj Yudhishthira, did he inform his relatives? Come on.
I don't think so. I think he just decided to just leave.
Really?
I'm
Okay.
guessing.
Yeah, that's okay. We can think about it. This is good. We can think about it. Yeah, Parikshit Prabhu.
Maharaj, Yudhishthira?
Yeah.
Probably, I would say I would say probably no.
Yeah. Well, he certainly prepared the people because he installed Parikshit Maharaj on the throne, right? He did all these preparations for leaving.
Yeah.
So looks like he informed them, or that it was anybody who was smart would know, he's no longer the king. So what's he gonna do? Right? So but either way, whether informing the relatives or not informing, either way, Yudhishthira Maharaj may have informed, Dhritarashtra didn't inform, following the influence of Vidura. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was also there hearing Vidura's preaching to Dhritarashtra, right? So it didn't go in one ear, out the other, of Yudhishthira and the other Pandavas. He also took it very seriously that, as one ages, the last period of life is meant for preparing to go back home, back to Godhead. We're not going to be able to stay in our apartment this physical body that much longer. No. So where are you going to go? Where will you go when you have to leave? And you will leave. It's a fact that you will leave. Nobody questions that. It's a fact you will leave. Where will you go? So the Vedic system is so nice that traditionally, part of the tradition of the Vedic system is in the last phase of life, people, especially the three higher orders of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, would traditionally leave home and dedicate their last period of life to preparing to go back to Godhead. It seems simple to think about that. You know, I used to do psychology research or to some, have to write papers about psychological topics. So I thought, well, I wonder if that's true in the general population, So I found some articles of people who did research about patients in hospitals or hospice care. Hospice care means they're scheduled to die within 6 months or less. Not always, they don't always die that, but generally speaking, the medical opinion is they're going to die within a short period of time. So, they had hundreds of subjects who they regularly interviewed about their thoughts, their interests, their beliefs, and activities in that last phase of life. And they were interested to find out whether the people that they were involved in the study would become more interested in religion or spirituality or the next life and that things within that period of time after they've gotten a pretty much a date when they're going to be leaving soon. And you know what they found out? Guess what they found out? What do you think?
They probably were thinking about their possessions and relatives and those kind of things.
Yes, you're right. You're right, Parikshit Prabhu. I was thinking, wow, people they might become more, introspective, what's going to happen at the time of death. But that's not what happened. Most people it was the same old story. Because what you think of at the time of death is a reflection of what you do your whole life. So it's a really wonderful thing that in the Vedic system, whether a person will take a formal position as sannyas or vanaprast or just leave home without any formal arrangements, but often go to a holy place, associate with spiritually elevated persons. Dear Krishna Prabhu says, usually people think about their past incidents even more during that last time. Yeah, flashbacks to their what I did, this and that. Yeah. So what was that? I forgot now.
Go to the pilgrimage and associate with the highly.
Oh yeah. So pilgrimage. Sometimes, yeah, just like that. They go to holy places like Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, Navadvip, Mayapur, Tirupati, other places, and dedicate most of their time to, at least as much of their time as possible, to engaging in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yoga. Srila Prabhupada, commenting on this tendency, sometimes would observe that big businessmen in India would sometimes follow this system So they'd leave their home and family and go to Vrindavan. And the family would give them a little stipend. And they'd give all their money to the family. And they go to Vrindavan and, just chant. So Srila Prabhupada said, well, Krishna's not a foolish person. He's very smart. So Krishna says, well, you've come to me to love me with your beads. But what about your money? Surrender means you surrender all those things. Of course, you can give something to the relatives, but Krishna is the Lord of everything. So he was observing that as a principle. Sometimes people overlook that the Rupa and Sanatan, when they renounced their positions as ministers in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah, they gave a 25% to their what?
Relatives.
Yeah, the relatives.
Mhm.
Not very much. 25% to the relatives, 25% they keep against personal emergency, and 50% they gave to the Krishna conscious persons, Krishna consciousness, which we get the Krishna consciousness movement also could be done. So this principle of renouncing at the end of life is a boon for us, a reminder for us that yes, the end is coming and we have to take it seriously and make steps to prepare to leave. Just like when you're going on a trip, you have to plan. You make arrangements for how you're going to get to the airport, and what flight you're going to take if you're going by air. You have to pack your bags, all these things. So you make arrangements because you're leaving at a certain time. So, of course, we're not saying pack your bags in that same way, but prepare for your next destination. So this is Yudhishthir's steps to do so, cutting himself off or becoming callous is a good word, callous to the influences and the subject matters of the regular material world that people often become absorbed in, and only thinking about thinking of Krishna, his holy name, his form, his activities, his qualities. What yuga was this? Did this take place?
Kali Yuga just started.
Yes. So this was because Kali Yuga actually came right after the Battle of Kurukshetra, but wasn't fully manifested until Lord Krishna left the planet. So Lord Krishna left the planet, so Kali Yuga was there, and so that was the time. So did Maharaj Yudhishthir take a sannyas, or did he just leave?
Just left.
Just left. Yeah, just left.
What makes you say that?
If he wore the regular torn clothes.
Also, a sannyasi wouldn't wear that.
It's not specific that he wore particular color, but it appears to be like he just left.
Okay. What do you think, Parikshit Prabhu?
I don't know that it says, I don't know anywhere in the scriptures it says that he actually went through a ceremony to take sannyas, but in spirit, he definitely left everything because he left his administration and concentrated fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is what sannyasis do.
Yeah.
So in spirit, he was a sannyasi in spirit. But I don't know that.
So yes. we have to all be conscious that renunciation can be actual or formal. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiya sanyasi cha yogi cha naniragnirna chakriya. One who is unattached to the fruits of their work and continues to work as they are obligated. Anashrita karma palam, not attached to the fruits of the work. Karyam karma and works as they continues to do their duty, which is, in this sense, engaging in service to the Supreme Personality of God. So sannyasi cha yogi cha, that is a sannyasi. Naniragni, not just somebody who stops doing work. So in that sense, Yudhishthira Maharaj was a sannyasi, although technically there's a question whether he actually took formal sannyas. If you look at the pictures that are available about Yudhishthira Maharaj, if you look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's one picture with him going in the mountains. If you notice, have you seen that picture? And what does he have in his hand? He's got a danda. Yeah.
A staff, a danda. Yes, I remember.
So what about
yes.
that? What about that?
Mm-hmm.
Did he take formal sannyas?
Not necessarily. I think in consciousness he was really fully renounced.
Yeah. Just an interesting point. My recollection of that, usually Srila Prabhupada was very careful with all the pictures, how they were, the details of the pictures. For example, there was one picture where Lord Krishna was sitting on a trunk, kind of looking downcast, and so this was painted by Mother Jadharani at the time. So devotees would come and show Srila Prabhupada their pictures that they had painted, and Srila Prabhupada said, "What is this?" And Mother Jadharani said, "This is when Krishna, left the rasa dance and then left after Srimati Radharani left. So he's feeling downcast like that." So Srila Prabhupada said, no, this is not how it happened. This is not, Krishna doesn't look like that when he does. No. So then later he said, oh, this can be the picture of when Krishna has a headache. There we go. Okay. So anyway, he was attentive to those details of the pictures quite often. There was one picture where it's kind of like a bird's eye view of Lord Brahma on the lotus growing from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the bird's eye view. And Srila Prabhupada said, how can that be? Who's going to be above Lord Brahma? How's that possible? So he didn't like that picture either. Anyway, very detailed. But in this case, you have Yudhishthira Maharaj. He looks like he's garbed as a sannyasi, and he's got a danda. My remembrance of it, and I don't know, I have no other evidence of this, is that there was controversy about that picture that Srila Prabhupada was not supportive of that depiction, even though it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam book. You follow? Yeah. Generally speaking, the Vedic system was, according to a person's varna, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, they follow different ashramas. A Brahmin does all four ashrams: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Kshatriyas, traditionally, there's Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha. In Vaishya, there's Brahmachari and Grihastha. And in Shudras, it's just Grihastha, family life. That's it, nothing else. So that's the traditional system. So somebody could say, well, Yudhishthira Maharaj, if he's taking sannyas, we thought, didn't Lord Chaitanya say when he was discussing with Shankazi that in Kali Yuga, sannyas is forbidden? You know that?
I've
Ashvamedha,
heard
go
that,
ahead.
Prabhu. Yeah.
It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes the verse, Ashvamedha Gavalamban Sannyasa Pala Paitrakan. These things are, different things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. Ashvamedha means horse sacrifice. Gavamedha, cow sacrifice. Sannyasa, palakite, offering flesh to the forefathers, and begetting a child and your dead brother's wife. These are all forbidden in Kali Yuga. So what is this? Lord Chaitanya is saying no sannyas in Kali Yuga, right? Some sampradayas, they decry the Gaudiyas for revitalizing sannyas in Kali Yuga, and they criticize. But the principle, first of all, the principle for everyone should be that way. What is the system now in the culture? When you get old, what do? You hang on to your material possessions as long and as tightly as possible. As Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, to enjoy sense gratification till the end of life is the prime goal of human society. That's the demoniac person says that. And we see within, those people who are administrators, like so-called Kshatriyas, they'll stay on in their positions 80, 90 years old. There was a famous Southern senator named Strom Thurmond who stayed in his position till he was almost 100 years old. Just trying to enjoy material life, keep their power as long as possible. The principle of reducing our material attachments is good for everybody. Then the specifics about sannyas, formal sannyas, was often brought up. It has been brought up often when devotees preach about, sannyas in the Gaudiya tradition. Some people say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur never took formal sannyas. Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji never took. They were Babajis, not Tridandi sannyasis. So how is it that the sannyas has been introduced in the Gaudiya Sampradaya? Yeah, sometimes they criticize Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, say that he added this thing erroneously, falsely to the Sampradaya, and then they cite what Lord Chaitanya said, Ashvamedha Gavala Mansanyasya. These things are forbidden, Kali Yuga. So what's the response? You have so many sannyasis in the Hare Krishna movement, even though the Vedas say in no sannyas in Kali Yuga. So what is your basis for doing that?
I think Prabhuji, personality like Srila Prabhupada, they are so purified to looking at the people's situation and what is best. They can take such a they can help in such situations by introducing the sannyas.
Well, he didn't introduce it. You know that he didn't introduce it, as you know. But yes, an elevated person, sure. What any other arguments you might give? No? Okay. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he would often have to face those types of arguments against sannyas. He said, well, actually, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted that verse, he wasn't quoting it to say not to do sannyas. He was quoting it to a person who was trying to support the slaughter of cows and bulls, wasn't it? So the emphasis wasn't on, in his quote, wasn't to stop sannyas, right? You follow? That was the purpose. And the Purana, which it comes from, that's called the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. The Brahma Vaivarta Purana is a Rajasic Purana, and he said that this prohibition of sannyas is for the karma sannyas of the pure Vedic system, not the Vaishnav sannyas. Exactly what a karma sannyas is, I don't know, but this is the quote from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This because renunciation of material activities and dedicating all of one's body, mind, and words for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's the natural condition of the soul. So what Vedics, the whole purpose of the Vedas, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. So there's no, the Vedas are not going to prevent something that's the natural situation, the natural function of the soul. You understand? You understand? So that's not consistent with that view. Just like we're talking, anything you have to take it in context. Take it in context. So this is what other evidence is there? Well, you know something? That there are 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. What are they? The Sri Sampradaya,
Uh-huh.
the Brahma Sampradaya, the
Nick,
Kumar Sampradaya,
yeah, Kumara.
and Rudra Sampradaya, yes.
Mm.
And the principal acharyas in each of those sampradayas, guess what? They were all sannyasis in Kali Yuga.
Mm.
In the Sri Sampradaya, it was Ramanuja. In the Brahma Sampradaya, it was Madhvacharya. In the Kumar Sampradaya, it was Nimbarka. And in the Rudra Sampradaya, it was Vishnu Swami. They're all the 4 sampradayas. So if sannyas is forbidden, how is this? These are all Vedic teachers. No. So, and Lord Chaitanya's own spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, was a sannyasi. So was his spiritual master. Madhavendra Puri was a sannyasi. Lord Chaitanya was surrounded by sannyasis. And he himself took sannyas at an early age. So all this evidence, just to show that this Krishna consciousness movement is authorized and following the essential teachings of the Vedic literature. So we should follow in the footsteps of Yudhishthira Maharaj as we grow older. We make plans how we're going to leave this world. How are we going to leave this world? By dedicating more and more of our mind, body, and words to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to prepare us to go to the transcendental realm when we leave this body. It's 8:54. Comments, questions, corrections, observations.
Thank you so much for such a really an educational class, Prabhu, was what's coming to my mind. I always learn at least something new from your class. Every time, 1-2 more points. It's so nice. Would like to ask devotees of any questions, any comments, any clarification, please do unmute yourself or raise your hand and I will definitely call upon you. Prabhu, I have a question, and but as you're mentioning about the 4 different sampradayas, and the teachers were all sannyasis, and at the same and I'm asking this completely from a point of lack of knowledge, and And we all know that the four sampradayas, what I've heard is it goes back to the Supreme Lord. Then one might say, then which is one better than the other? How do we deal with that?
They're all transcendental. They can all bring you to back to Godhead, Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya, however, chose to appear in the Madhva Sampradaya. So the example is given of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to give an example of, food that's fortified by vitamins. So Lord Chaitanya chose this sampradaya, this Madhva Sampradaya, Madhvacharya Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva. Two reasons he liked this sampradaya, he appreciated this sampradaya. One is Madhva Sampradaya had the complete defeat of the Mayavadi philosophy, Dvaitavad, and a special emphasis on worshiping the deity of the Lord as eternal. In fact, the sannyasis in the Madhva Sampradaya, not the Madhva Gaudiya, but then the Madhva Sampradaya, what they do is they take care of the deity worship in the temples. That's their service. Those sannyasis have the name Tirtha. Tirtha is a sannyas name. There are other sannyasis in the Madhva Sampradaya that are Puri, like Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri, but they're traveling. But the primary followers of Madhva, they're Tirthas, and they take care of the temples. So the Madhva Sampradaya was complete defeat of Mayavad and especially worship of the Lord, the deity form of the Lord. From the Ramanuja Sampradaya, Lord Chaitanya incorporated a complete dependence on the Supreme Lord and service to the devotees. And anyway, I don't remember the other two right now. I'm not thinking very clearly right now, but see, he incorporated two aspects of two special strengths from each of the four sampradayas into the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. That's why it's especially potent. You can go back to Godhead following any of the sampradayas, but Lord Chaitanya, and as revealed by Krishnadas Kaviraj, says, Anarpita chirim chirat, karunayavatir nakalo, samarpayita manutodzvalarasam swabhakti shriyam, hari purata sundara duty kadamba sandipita. He said, Lord Chaitanya, he gave something that nobody else, Anarpita, nobody else gave. What is that? What is that?
The
Love
holy
of
name.
God, love of
Yeah.
Godhead through
Yes.
chanting.
Yeah. Love of Godhead is there, but that pure love of Godhead in the rasa, it's the rasa of the intimate associates of Krishna, that one cannot get in the other systems. So Lord Chaitanya is special. Of course, he's Krishna. Not that one, generally speaking, one goes to following the other sampradayas. Generally speaking, one will go to Vaikuntha. If that's a very elevated condition. So there's the Dasya Ras, maybe a little bit of, usually it's Dasya Ras there could be mixed with a little bit of Sakya Ras or a little bit of Vatsalya Ras, but still it's mostly the prime rasa is in the other sampradayas, it's the Dasya Ras. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Any other questions from devotees? Any questions? Prabhu, actually, I just remembered a question that one devotee asked Mother Geeta and myself and Prashant on Monday, and we didn't have the answer. So we said that we'll ask you about Balabhadra Prabhu, and we never got around to doing it. So we're going to ask you, Prabhu. One devotee asked us sometimes, and I'm trying to remember the context of the question of, where it came from. But this devotee asked, we were told that using the left hand is actually not good. We should do things with the right hand. And this devotee as sometimes there's a habit that we pick up things and eat with the left hand. Is that all right? Is that acceptable? Is that bona fide? Is that clean? And I'm trying to remember the context of that discussion. Yeah. Prabhu, can you shed some
I
light
think
on that?
Mataji, the context was.
Oh, yes, perfect. There you go, Manidhar. Please ask.
The context was like, when somebody should not be chanting with the left hand. One should chant only the right hand. So then only the prasadam habit also came. Like I was asking, I have some habit of using the spoon and the forks with the left hand sometimes. And then also Parikshit Prabhu also mentioned, like, when the Britishers also used to put on the left hand side of the table, like, the forks and the spoon. That probably, that might have the reason. But that was a context actually with the chanting on the left hand. And then I asked that question for the prasadam.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So is it wrong to eat prasadam with your left hand? Is basically what it came down to.
You know the word sinister? You know the word sinister? Have you heard that word?
But I don't know what it means.
Sinister means kind of scary, worrisome, bad, like that. It comes from the word sinestro, which means your left hand, you're lefty. When Srila Prabhupada would give somebody initiation, they would come forward. He would chant on their beads, one round, and then he would give them. They would come forward. They would give the four regulative principles. He'd say, ask them, what are the four regulative principles? Do you follow them? And how many rounds you chant? And then he would give them their name and then give them their japa beads. And he would always say, take them with your right hand. Take with your right hand. And it wasn't unusual that some people would reach with their left hand. And Prabhupada mentioned at one point that he said, it's like trying to wash coal, because devotees kept reaching with their left hand. So the system is, why should you discriminate right hand, left hand? Well, in the Vedic system, the traditional way is you do dirty things with your left hand, dirty things like when you go to the bathroom and all that stuff, and with your other, and you do the clean things with your right hand. That's the system. Well, some people break the system. There's a lot of left-handers. Nothing wrong with being a left-hander, but still, doing the clean things with your right hand, and that's how they system. There was you mentioned Jad Bharat earlier. One of his things was to do all the stuff that he was supposed to do with his right hand with his left hand. Right? That was one of his things. So anyway, he still made it, he still was a very advanced soul. So it's possible. Of course, he was an Avaduta, like Yudhishthira Maharaj here. So left-handed, like when you do a Shraddha ceremony. Have you ever been to a Shraddha ceremony? So the Shraddha ceremony, what they do is, it's after the death of an ancestor or like a relative. Sometimes, the son does it for the father, like that. So during the Shraddha ceremony, they offer articles. They offer something called pinda. Pinda means it's a ball made of gur or jaggery and rice and sesame seed and stuff like that. Ghee. And so we offer that first. It should offer to Krishna first, but then they offer that to the departed person with their left hand behind the back. because that's going to the netherworld, back the nether. The person's still there in the netherworld, in that nasty sinister area. So those are that's the what I know I can add to that. Usually you want to take prasadam with your right hand. Yes. Srila Prabhupada would encourage that. Yes. That's all I know. What do you say, Prabhu?
As you were talking, then it actually, the whole, because this was a question that came with Manida was asking. And when I remembered that the British people will have, set up a table, putting the fork on the left and so on, you said put your fork to your left hand. But the traditional way of eating, actually, we weren't using any flatware at all, spoon, fork, knife. And so when people use their hand, I've never seen anybody put the left hand in the food. They just, immediately go right hand and eat. I grew up like that. We weren't devotees when I was growing up in Ghana. Everybody ate with their right hand.
Oh, no kidding. That's interesting. Sometimes it's really fun to watch, especially, devotees from all over, but especially devotees in the South, because in the South, the traditions have been maintained a little bit more fully than in the north part of India. You see devotees taking prasadam, and to watch them, it's really fun because they really, they massage the prasadam, and then they take a lot of time to bring it together and then use their right hand to bring it to the mouth to honor the prasadam. So yeah, it's always right hand. Even in Ghana.
My grandparents, Prabhu, when I remember when we were kids, me and my sister, when we were very little, and unknowingly as children, we'll just take things with our left hand. Oh my God, not slap. They would click our fingers with their on the knuckles. It would hurt so bad. So we were corrected from a very young age by my grandparents, not to use the left hand for anything, to receive anything or take anything. It was hard. They would click it.
Yes. There's a whole thing within schools that, they have right-handed desks and left-handed desks. You know this?
No.
Because in order to write on a desk, the way that most desks are, they give support to people who are right-handed. So left-handed people, they have a hard time writing. And so there's the people feel that they're discriminated against and all that stuff. So devotees like Arjun were ambidextrous. But that doesn't mean he took prasadam with both hands. So anyway.
Thank you, Prabhu. That really helped. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, that's what we said on Monday. We have to ask you, Balabhadra Prabhu, this question because we just said, okay, let's get this clarified. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Any other questions from the voice? I'm glad, Manida, that you came online to ask this question because we said we would ask on, on Monday. So that was great. That perfect timing. Any other questions from devotees? Any thoughts that's coming to your mind, clarifications or doubts that you have? Please jump right in before we end. I know we passed the 9 o'clock class. And Prabhu, thank you so much for giving the class. Even though you're not well, I can hear from your cough and cold.
Yeah.
Thank you. You really inconvenienced yourself for us. Thank you so much for giving us this class, even though your body's not being a good friend right now.
Thinking about, sometimes say a person has a damaged right hand. Of course they have to, there's there's dharma and there's apadharma. Apadharma means exceptions or emergency or difficulties. So there's certain circumstances where a person might need to use their left hand instead, but that's special exceptions. There's always exceptions.
Exceptions versus habit.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point, Prabhu. Thank you. If there are no questions from devotees, we thank you all for joining us, and I'm sure we all have. Dr. said the exceptions are authorized. You put habits are formed. Oh, good one. I like that. He said habits are formed, and it's hard to break those habits. Take some time, but I agree. It becomes like second nature, so we have to correct ourselves. Yes, Manidhar, go ahead.
I was just listening to the class, and you mentioned about the Jain people, like, they have like, Digambar and Shwetambar, and they have the Tirthankars, they have, I think 9 or 10 Tirthankars. Actually, my wife is from the Jain background. And that's why, I was clearing some doubt. So you mentioned like Tirthankars are like, they are imitating their, the guru. So like first one is the Rishabdev, and second one is so on, and third and fourth, like that. So they're imitating Rishabdev, like what are the activities that he did, but they are not following the teachings of Rishabdev. Is that the right statement, Prabhu?
Yes, there was a person who, it's described in the 5th canto. Rishabdev was very clearly teaching about Krishna Bhakti. So they tend to imitate his external activities of when he renounced and became, just like Yudhishthira Maharaj here, oblivious to the world, going naked or practically with just torn clothing, stuff like that. So they do that part, but they don't necessarily do the internal part of worship and devotion to Lord Krishna or Vishnu. In fact, the Jain religion primarily, even though they do worship in some way the Tirthankaras, they ultimately, they believe, my understanding is, they believe that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal. So usually for the impersonalist views, the bhakti at a certain point is given up because it's superfluous when we merge or become equal to God, become part of God, we become merged with the existence of God. So it finally has an impersonal conclusion. Whereas in the Vaishnava philosophy, we say that yes, we're part of God, but we're the same in quality as God, but in quantity we're just like a part compared to the whole. And our eternal position, Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Our position is, our constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. Krishna Tatashta Shakti Ved Abed Prakash. We're the marginal potency of Krishna and simultaneously one and different of Krishna. That's Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, yeah. So that philosophy was also taught by Rishabdev, but that part wasn't captured by some of the subsequent Tirthankaras, as you mentioned. There's a bunch of them, yeah, as you know.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Nice question, Manida. Thank you for asking that. Yes. Any other questions from devotees? Anything that's coming to your mind? If there isn't, I know I sometimes have questions, and yes, Nitya Gopal, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just Prabhu was referring to what are the things Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took from other sampradaya. I just listed so I think I like the point of Nimbarkacharya. Lord took the shelter of Radharani.
Radharani, yes.
And
these are mentioned in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. They're cited there in by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Do you have the rest? Do you have the rest?
Yeah. The Ramanacharya was the concept of unallied devotion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just pasted the other two. Ananya Bhakti and Bhakta Jana Seva. These are the two.
Yeah. Concept of unalloyed devotion free from karma and gyan. Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand what you posted, Nitya Gopal, because so you Vishnugada Prabhu, these are the points that Lord Chaitanya took from the 4 sampradayas. Is that what it is, Prabhu? I'm trying to understand. It's not clear to my mind.
Yes.
Okay. Very nice. Jeez.
So, Prabhuji, like, what would be the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like, to take the, some teachings or some things from the other sampradaya, and not continue the, Brahmadav Gaudiya sampradaya as is?
Well, it's not that those aspects weren't there in the Madhva Sampradaya. It's just that they were more developed in, say, the service to devotees. It's not that Lord Chaitanya and service to devotees, he encouraged that, and others encouraged that, but it was especially further developed or in the Ramanuja or Sri Sampradaya. So it's not that they didn't exist, but they were given more attention, if that makes sense.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Jai, Hare Krishna.
So in short, Prabhu, the points that Nitya Gopal is, which I think is so nice, is that Lord Chaitanya took one or 2 points or whatever is listed from each of the Sampradaya and extended it, or expanded it. Is that how? Okay.
He incorporated, or he especially appreciated these 2 points, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. These 2 points from all the 4. So he wanted to integrate the Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Vaishnavas, into one all-encompassing Sampradaya. And he appreciated these 2 things from each Sampradaya, 2 things from each Sampradaya.
Okay.
Which they were particularly noticeable in those Sampradayas, but it's not that they didn't exist at all in the Sampradayas, other Sampradayas, but they might have been given more attention in that way. In the Ramanuja Sampradaya, of course, they have deity worship, of course, yes. But the deity worship in the Madhva Sampradaya was very, very carefully done by the sannyasis only. So I mean, they gave a lot of attention, a lot of care to that. Okay, it's not that it wasn't done, in other words, but that was especially given emphasis. So he accepted those things from each sampradaya. He took 2, and
I was thinking.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, if other sampradayas, follow us, they decided to, come and join us, they will feel comfortable, and they will feel like homely, and that's happens from south. Some of the
Yes.
sampradaya devotees come and joins and follows. For them, it's not like too much difference.
Yes.
That way, might be Lord have the vision to combine everyone, follow one path.
Yes, I mean, the Nimbarka Sampradaya is practically, we don't see it. It was revived. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that it was probably pretty much gone, but revived by Keshava Kashmiri after his association and discussion with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Nimbarka Sampradaya, and you have this shelter of Radharani and things that's he had association with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the main Sampradayas, of course, so Ramanuja Sampradaya is there. Sri Sampradaya, as Nitya Gopal Prabhu, that's still very strong in many parts of South India. And then you have the Rudra Sampradaya. The current representatives of the Rudra Sampradaya are what they call it, the Vallabha Sampradaya, or the Pushti Mark, like you have in Pennsylvania, this Vraj Dham, yeah, that's Pushti Mark, and that was especially revitalized by the teacher Vallabhacharya, which is a different Vallabhacharya than mentioned here in this description of Vallabhacharya or Vallabhabhata, where he is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, his association with Lord Chaitanya. So there's some slight differences they have.
And
generally
Krishna put a post, Prabhu, in the chat that he said, but at the same time, Lord Chaitanya also pointed out the defects in their philosophies. In his essays on Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that the Nimbarka system is asampurna, not complete. Ramanuja's I can't go down here. System is aprapulit, not blossomed. Madhava's system is aprasputit in seedling stage, and Vallabha's system is apashta, not clear. And Lord Chaitanya removed the flaws and deficiencies in their systems, incorporated their basic aspects, and developed his own philosophical system of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva.
Nice. Thank you. Very good. Very well said.
I love that. I really did. It's so nice. Yes. And then he said, Lord Chaitanya is not only the embodiment of love of God, but the supreme philosopher. I like that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. This has been a really nice discussion, especially for me. Definitely very, very learning class.
And as you know, when Lord Chaitanya was in South India, he had his discussion with Venkat Bhatt. He was staying during the rainy season at the house of a pujari, Venkat Bhatt, at the Ranganath temple. So he said, he jokingly talked with Venkat Bhatt, who's a follower of the Sri Sampradaya. And he said, you say that Lakshmi is the most chaste lady, but then why does she want to associate with Krishna in the rasa dance? And then he quoted verses showing that Lakshmi underwent penances and austerities to get access to the rasa dance of Lord Krishna. So Venkata Bhatt said, well, Krishna is just the more sportive feature of Narayan. There's no difference between Krishna and Narayan. And so a chaste wife likes to associate with her husband in all of his different moods. So there's nothing wrong in Lakshmi Devi's part. So Lord Chaitanya said, well, that's all right. But then why wasn't she given access even after performing so many austerities? So then Venkatapati said, I now you've gone beyond my understanding. I can't understand anymore. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that because she hadn't followed in the footsteps of the gopis like that. And so anyway, so that when you said it hadn't fully blossomed, I think was the word, it fully blossomed, that part hadn't come.
Oh, amazing, Prabhu. Thank you so much. We love it. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm so grateful for these classes. So grateful and appreciative. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And thank you to the devotees for asking really amazing questions and putting a powerful quotes on the chat. Thank you so much. And thank you, Prabhu, always enlightening, hearing and discussing with you. Absolutely, dear Krishna. I have to second that. I always learn something. Thank you so much. And we want to thank the devotees for joining and really making this discussion really enlivening and especially educational. For me, it has been. And we thank you, Prabhu, for taking your time and giving us your time. Vanchakaptibhyascha kripasindhabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.